So anyway, Pedro, we started with you giving a kind of a review of the fact that you're beginning to get it, and I'd like for you to go over that with us a little bit again.
Yes. So, well, I start really to remember each time and each time before, like your pointings, like also in meditation and breathing, but also through the day, also as I wake up, or also doing the activities of the days. I really see that. Yeah, I'm starting to recognize that I can be satisfied here and now, and yeah. Uh, yes.
That we started also to talk about experiences
Yes.
that most people, that in fact you could say that an experience, or kind of like you could even say a religious experience, that this is what often is done, that people for many centuries and in many different ways have been looking for an experience, for instance, of the magician pulling a rabbit out of the hat. And everybody says, I wonder how that happened, and all of this kind of stuff. And so we also have religious experiences.
Okay.
And that, in fact, certain kinds of services are designed to get people into having those kind of religious experiences. Sometimes they call them holy rollers,
Mhm.
when they're rolling on the floor or speaking in tongues, or all of that is to create a new experience for people, something that's never happened before. And that those experiences also are supposed to mean something. It's like the gateway or the doorway into something really profound, really important.
Yeah, I remember also. At first, I was following like Hinduism or Christianism, and I was like really event oriented. In fact, when I like got something out of it, like a big event, big transformation, and so on, that okay, in some ways changed my life, but also it was like a not really good thing that happened, because I spent like 2 years attached to that thing, not knowing that I could, should have go on immediately. Like, okay, just an experience, and try to build in the present my confidence, not event
Mm-hmm.
related. In fact, the first call that I made with you was a few years ago. Because I wanted to know you, and you told me this thing that in the West we are event oriented, like the wedding, or the first son or the first house, while we have to learn to be present oriented, process oriented better.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good aspect I'm learning. Yes.
Yes, so this is back to that. And in the Western mind, we're taught through our society to be event oriented. And look how many different event kind of things there are. How about going to work and punching in on the clock? That's an event. It marks the day. They do their math and calculations from that, and all kinds of ideas that get really deeply into our experience then of meditation, because we're looking for experience.
Mm.
And some experiences will happen, they happen naturally.
Mm.
But getting attached to those experiences will then cause us dangers later. Like you did something and then you feel really good and had the experience of feeling really good. So now you want to feel really good again because you know what it feels like now. The first time you didn't know what it felt like to feel really good in this way. So now that you do know how it feels, because you've been there, done that, you want to do it again. And so now, instead of doing what you did before to get there, now whatever it is, we've added the ingredients of knowing where we're going, knowing the destination, and wanting it. And the very wanting it prevents us from being satisfied because we're not satisfied without it. We still want it. We want these experiences. And then further, in our society, we use these experiences as a marker for attainments and often even bragging rights. Oh, I had this and that experience, okay? And that we then often, because of the attainment quality of it, think that Buddhism then is just one special insight after another special event, after another special experience, etc., like that. And so they're sort of like stones across the river or across the brook, and you got to find what's the next stone to step on. To where the real teaching of the Buddha is just watch where you're going and just walk right across. You don't have to find some particular stone to step on. That any footing will do. And so that gets us out of this desire and want for special experiences, especially the kind of experiences that then we use to, let us say, prove an attainment, or like I said, bragging rights, because we're often looking for that. We're looking for, let us say, a confirmation, but we want really big ones. And the ones that really pile up and become important are the little confirmations, in the sense of, yes, I can come out of whatever experience I was in and come back to the present moment. That in fact it's better to not think about having experiences, or that the experiences are often manufactured anyway, based upon feelings and whatnot, based upon judgments that we're making. And so instead, we could just start paying attention to what's happening right now. We make that major change, and to recognize that right now is good enough. Now, there is a kind of time or a kind of thing that where an event happens that it becomes kind of an important point. Here's an example of that you walk into the kitchen and you start talking to somebody, and you see the counter there, and so you lean against the counter, only to realize way too late that it was one of those newfangled cooking stoves, and you've just put your hand on a very, very hot burner. And ouch, it hurts, it's painful, it stays that way for a while. Okay, so we'll remember that, so that the next time we go into that kitchen, we're going to be very mindful of that stove. Right? It kind of works in that direction of avoidance of pain. But if we have a really good experience, there is not going to be that insight into it that's going to keep bringing it back over and over again, that needs to be done with practice. To keep talking yourself into feeling good and then allowing yourself to feel good. We can have those wholesome thoughts like everything right now is okay. This is good enough. This is good enough. This is good enough. I say it like that, it reminds me of the commercial years ago when cell phones were first being sold. And this guy was walking around, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And they had these places. He'd be all over the world. He'd be in Rome. He'd be in London. He'd be in New York. He'd be all over the place, you know, and always walking around. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So we can see that as the Dhamma, in the sense of, are we looking now? This is what's happening now. We can be here now, checking it out.
Okay.
Because that's all there is to it. Not expensive experiments or experiences and things. That a lot of students, even when they can get to this state, then they'll ask the question, well, what next? And when we ask that question, that means that we just fell out of it. That, yeah, this is good enough, but then the dukkha comes into the point of, well, wait a minute, maybe it's not good enough. Maybe something next is happening. And so we come out
Actually,
of that satisfaction to ask,
yeah.
what's next?
Yeah, like I realize sometimes that I'm going to the state if like I start to feel the urge to ask for help to other people for attaining for getting something, because actually I realize that when I feel good, I don't ask anything to anybody. And when I see, okay, maybe I will go him and ask him for, I realize that I'm a state of neediness. So like I understand and say, okay, no. I catch it, because you know, when I realize that everything is okay, I just do out of passion and not out of neediness, you know. So and yeah, I lean on the capabilities, on the Dharma. And so when I see like starting to see like oh, maybe I call my brother and complain about my life, I noticed. So
But he doesn't want to hear you complain about your life. He wants you to listen while he complains about his.
yes. Yeah.
And so the question then will come is that, can you actually listen to him complain about his life and still not have anything to complain about in your own? No complaints, no worries.
Yeah.
But for sure, the place to start is by not going to your brother to complain, because if you do, you owe him.
Yeah.
That's an important word. In fact, I'm glad that you brought it up. I forget to mention it often, that this is something that we can actually pay attention to when we're dealing with others. And then we can also pay attention to it when we do it within our own mind. And that is any kind of thought that can be considered complaining. Okay? That in fact you can't complain to your brother unless you're already complaining within your own mind anyway.
Mhm. Yes.
That thought
Yes.
precedes speech. That in fact that we almost can say that we rehearse it first. We figure out what we're going to say, we think it through, and then we say it.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. And in
Not
fact,
everybody does that.
yes. In fact, there is a like the still point in relationship where you like in the eye, what to say, the eye of the tornado, where like okay, I will not get into it, otherwise I'll end up fighting, otherwise I will be end up complaining because I see it earlier. And so there's like this still point in relationship.
Yes, that's a good analogy. The center of the hurricane is peaceful. Um, there's another analogy that I've seen in art in Asia, and that is the monk is sitting peacefully as the tongue of a big snake with big fangs. Okay, The caption of that would be like the tongue of the snake. Why? Because the snake doesn't bite his own tongue.
Right.
Okay, so you could be surrounded by danger, but you're still safe. Which is exactly the same thing as in that hurricane or in that tornado. You're in the center of it where it's peaceful. It's not anywhere else is dangerous.
Yes.
So, going back to that point about complaining, is is that if we can catch ourselves complaining, then we can do something about it. And a lot of the kinds of thoughts we have are actually thoughts of complaining about something that happened that we don't like and we want to try to fix it or something. And then the other one would be uh, thinking about what to do about it, trying to fix something. So that we're either complaining because we don't like that it's broken, or we're busy trying to fix it. Where in fact, everything is already okay. Yeah, our relationship got broken in the past, but that's in the past. Leave it in the past. Don't worry about it. Be here in the present moment instead of worrying about an old broken relationship.
Yeah.
So, not complaining anymore is part of the path that you could part. In fact, you could begin to see that's part of right noble speech is that we don't complain. And I'm really glad that you brought that up because you were mentioning that you go to complain to or about your brother. So you can
Yeah, yeah.
recognize that. Now you can stop that complaining. And I'm really glad you told me. I said that before. I'm glad you told me because I wouldn't know to talk to you until you told me about complaining to your brother. But that's a major, major step on the path is to recognize that we got no complaints. Everything's already okay. No worries, no complaints. And so when the mind gets into a complaining mentality, a complaining mode, say, I see you, Mr. Complainer. I can treat my brother better than that.
Okay.
Must have done something that touched you. You've gone right quiet. So anyway, back to the beginning, Pedro. I'm really pleased that you're making progress. That you're actually getting it. That you can come out of. In fact, you can begin to see that you can come out of your complaining. That
Yes.
you can just let things be okay the way that they are. They don't have to be special. They don't have to be superlative. But when everything gets really, really okay, that is superlative. I mean, think about it. If things were just absolutely nothing better or more than just okay, that is marvelous. Because almost always we could find something that's not up to scratch, not up to okay, not ordinary, not good enough. And here we have come to the point that everything is okay. Now that is an amazing accomplishment. But everything's just okay. Everything's fine.
Start from there to go around. Like we start from this point that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Rather than starting from complaining to go after the point that everything is okay. Now I can start
Yeah.
from everything is okay.
Yeah. No complaining, no worry, everything's okay. And that is a marvelous state to be in. Just being in the senses, being in the present moment, and everything's just fine.
Good point, Dhammarato. Wow,
Wow.
beautiful.
Great. Well, you go play with that. Make this a new toy to
Yes,
play with. And we'll talk to you in a couple of days then. This has been a
yes,
good talk. It's been short, but I think it's gotten something useful for you.
yeah, definitely. Wow. All right.
We'll see you. All right.
Yeah.